always been somebody who has made things with my hands. My name is Wendy Allen. I am a milliner, felter, accessory designer, craft person. I make hats for everyone. I love what I do, and I love being able to share what I do with other people. Nothing makes me happier. It does take a lot of work to make something by hand. It took me a few years before I really understood what it meant to be a part of a community created by artists for artists. Piedmont Craftsmen puts on a beautiful show once a year, and they also have a gallery where artists can sell their work the rest of the year. They have been around for going on 60 years, which is amazing, and also speaks to how strong a community that it is and how much they are committed to supporting artists. If you want a beautiful, vibrant world to live in, you have to support artists.
My name is Evan Birding. I'm a furniture maker in Durham, North Carolina. It's a puzzle, and I think that's a lot of what appeals to me. There are lots of ways to build something. I'm trying to build these pieces for generations, something that is first and foremost personal, not only for the client, hopefully, but ultimately for me. Being a part of the guild, going to shows, going to the gallery, interacting with other makers, it does kind of remind you that there is a group effort going on. It's a cool thing to be a part of. It also kind of gives your eyes a new way of looking at the made world.
My name is Xiangting Yan. I'm a studio jeweler based in Raleigh, North Carolina. I took the class, and the first day I held the jeweler's soul, I fell in love with, like the whole process, the technique. I feel like I found my own calling. My value as a professional artist are the creativity, the authenticity, the entrepreneurship, and navigating through challenges and opportunities. Being an exhibiting member of Piedmont Craftsmen Guild, that allows me to have my work, to have exposure to the triad area. That empowerment of, you can use your own hands, make jewelry, make, things you love, and that's powerful.
I'm David Roswell. I am a potter and the owner of Studio Maypop. I make functional ceramics. People have been making pottery for millennia. I think the deep tradition of making highly functional things, but always having an aspect of artistry, is something that really speaks to me. Being part of a craft guild is a really exciting opportunity for me to be part of a community of artists really supporting each other. It exists for us, it's run by the artists, so the needs of the artists are really centralized. When we come to the gallery or we come to the craft show, we see each other as comrades, as compatriots. We're working together to build something, and we're not competition.
People, maybe in their 20s, even 30s, kind of having a bit of an awakening maybe to like, oh, I don't love what I'm doing. And I think a lot of that can come from just the removal of any sort of like personal relationship with the work, the end product. We need a variety of ways to enjoy life, and I think the arts and crafts, they can be enjoyable in and of themselves. They also kind of create spaces that are just kind of a more welcoming and soulful place to exist.
Especially nowadays, like people don't really work with their hands anymore. Most of the time you have your laptop, you have your phone, and you can pretty much do anything anywhere. That empowerment of, you can use your own hands, make jewelry, make, things you love, and that's powerful.
What's one thing that's really important to me is that my work be accessible to everyone. I want young people to be able to buy my work as well. I've read that a lot of young people right now see the arts as something that is not for them. Because it's not a part of their education, they just don't see it as something of their everyday life. Organizations like Piedmont Craftsmen, it's going to now be our job to step in and take over where that education no longer exists, and bring young people into the fold and let them know that this is a viable way to make a living.
The best way for a young person to become interested in art is to have them be able to see both the outcomes, to be able to interact with something that feels meaningful to them and speaks to them, and also the ability to see how it can fit into their lives as an artist and as a maker. I didn't grow up knowing professional artists and didn't think that I saw it as a viable path, for my life. Having a craft guild where people can see this is a viable way to make a living and a lifestyle feels absolutely necessary. I think there's also something really exciting about a younger generation brings so many more perspectives and interests. Art is a really important vehicle for hope, and I think that as we are raising young folks, seeing how art can expand young folks' sense of the possible feels absolutely vital.
I love that aspect that I am working in one of the oldest crafts. I find it fascinating that it is the first form of fabric ever invented, but that most of the general public has never heard of it. The oldest examples of felt that we have are over 8,000 years old. They were found in tombs in Siberia. Felt was very important to the nomadic people of Siberia and Central Asia because it is so durable. I work in a fiber called merino roving, which is wool that comes off of a sheep and has been combed and washed and dyed and carded. I was always very excited about the possibilities, the endless possibilities of what you can do with felt. Because it is so sculptural, you can literally do anything with felt. This job is really hard. It's a very physical job. It's really long hours, as I think probably a lot of craft is. It's a lot of work to make something by hand, but that is how you get something that doesn't look like it was made in a factory.
I'm Taiwanese American, and I went back to my roots. I went through all those Asian influence, like watercolors, arts, and I used enamel to kind of reinterpret that watercolor characteristics, and I create a series of, it's called In Bloom. It's kind of like a mix of Chinese watercolor and Art Nouveau together. There was peony, orchid, there's all those Chinese influence. You can see a lot of those flowers in Chinese painting and all that.
The manufacturing era of furniture, probably from post-World War II into the 90s, I think North Carolina was really a hub, and still is to a degree. There is a reference to historical construction, but it's also the reality is, I'm working in the modern era, so I can't mill everything by hand. It's a balance. I'm happy to be a part of that history. It's evolving, I think, but it's a part of it. It's as old as humanity, probably, kind of like the pursuit of a beautiful thing.
People have been making pottery for millennia, so I'm pulling some from some Japanese influences and British influences that have kind of moved through history into an American tradition. I sort of fell into some traditions by moving to North Carolina, which has such a extremely rich history of ceramics. So I'm using all local clay and building off of some of the forms and traditions that have been in North Carolina for generations. And North Carolina just has such a long tradition of making pots for use, sort of straightforward, functional things. There's so much space today to reinterpret those traditions and to bring in, different surfaces and more artistic influences. The arts and crafts in particular are how our culture creates the future while connecting it very deeply to the past and history.
I certainly hope that it's something that is kind of evergreen generationally, the appreciation of art, of craft, the made world.